a few temporary employees who work for us. And one of the comments that the temporary employee had made to us is that this was the easiest lab he ever worked in because he could generally find everything. He knew where everything was. So we kind of knew we were doing it correctly at that point when you could take a fairly new employee and the comment after about a week was, you know, this place is really neat to work in because I can find everything when I need it.
The old system where we were not able to quickly identify, now if there is a part missing here, we can see it right there. It's all there, silhouetted. So that way you know quickly that it has been removed from there and we can track it down.
That corner up there, if you see that up there, that's all the stations marked. That's where all the personnel stand doing their job. So if anybody comes down looking, they can go right to this board and see where everybody's working and what they're doing.
So far, you've scanned your workplace and have applied sort, set in order, and shine. Now it's time to apply the fourth S, standardize. In Standardize, you will learn how to maintain and monitor the conditions that resulted from the activities of the first three S's. Standardization differs from sort, set in order, and shine because it refers to the condition that you want your workplace to be in, not an activity. That means that only the items needed in an area are located there, and there is a systematic method to maintain that condition. Standardization also means that there is a place for everything and everything is in its place, and that everything is easy to locate, use, and replace. It also means that everything is clean inside and out, and that cleaning is used to inspect the area and its equipment. Specifically, standardization is the state that exists when sort, set in order, and shine are fully maintained. Remember that over time, it's easier by far to keep work areas clean and organized than to periodically stop production to bring them up to an acceptable standard. Standardization has 4 steps. Establish guidelines for conditions of the first 3 S's. Attain those 3 S conditions. Make the standard conditions visual. Maintain and monitor the conditions. The first step in standardizing is to establish guidelines for the conditions of sort, set in order, and shine. When you applied sort, set in order, and shine, you began to develop the conditions for a high-performance workplace. Now you should determine the conditions you want to maintain for each of these activities and set these levels as your standards. The implementation team, with input from the employees and managers in the area, should create these standards. A good example of a sort standard is the amount of inventory to keep on hand at any one time. Another example is how often to remove scrap or recyclable materials. Other sort standards specify when to apply the red tag technique and how to dispose of items in the red tag holding area. By establishing your standards for sort, you are making a final decision about what is necessary to keep in the target area and what does not belong there, including the quantities. Set in order standards finalize where all items must be located and how they should be kept. The location of aisleways is an example of a set in order standard, as is the placement of equipment and furniture. Locating tools at the point of use is a common set-in-order standard, as is the storage of dangerous or fragile items in a specified way. Set-in-order standards will even determine the location of information in the workplace, such as bulletin boards, production data, and work or maintenance procedures. Set-in-order standards ensure that each item has a home and that it will be returned to that home after use. Shine standards ensure that everything is clean and kept clean. For example, a shine standard might be to mop the floor every day because a slippery floor is a safety hazard. Another shine standard might be that special clothing must be worn in a clean room to prevent contamination of the process and product. Another shine standard might identify the step-by-step cleaning procedure for a machine to ensure that it's done thoroughly and correctly. Whatever the shine standards are, their purpose is to maintain a clean and safe environment that does not have any contaminants that will lower the quality of the product. After determining what your standards are, the second step in standardizing is to bring the condition of the area up to the level of those standards. The only difference between this step and the activities of sort, set in order, and shine is that you are now working with standard conditions that you must reach, and you are making these standards permanent. In many cases, you will already have reached those standards. However, one standardizing step you probably haven't done yet is to paint all surfaces that need it, such as floors, ceilings, walls, or machines. Painting not only forces you to clean the surfaces extremely well, but also protects those surfaces and makes them easier to keep clean. In addition, it will make you want to keep everything clean. The third step in standardizing is to make the standard conditions visual. People control and manage things, so it's essential that everyone be able to tell the difference between what is correct and what is incorrect. Visual techniques make it possible to grasp the standard at a glance and immediately correct any variance. You already began to use visual techniques when you applied set in order. For example, you installed temporary lines, labels, and signboards throughout your target area. Now you may replace taped lines with painted lines if necessary. Make sure you adhere to any plant-wide color standards. Likewise, you can expand the use of labels to indicate various standards. For instance, you can put labels on machines to indicate what type of lubricant to use. You can also attach labels on equipment to show what parts to reorder when replacement is required. Labels can also show who is responsible for various cleaning or maintenance tasks. Signboards can be used in expanded ways to communicate established standards. For example, once you have decided where everything belongs in your target area, update your workplace scan display with a new area map and photos that show this standard. Another type of signboard might give a simple visual lesson about how to perform a lockout-tagout procedure, or how to respond to process problems. The item disposition list you develop during sort is another kind of signboard. It should be posted in the red tag holding area. In addition to lines, labels, and signboards, other types of visual techniques can be used. Transparency is an effective technique that facilitates standardization. In many factories, things are put in drawers, lockers, or cabinets to get them out of sight. This is just like sweeping dirt under the rug. So it's a good idea to uncover all of these places. For instance, you may not need an enclosed cabinet. Storing items on open shelves will make it easier to find the things you need. If items must be enclosed, a transparent door will make it easier to locate them quickly, and it will show you when things are out of order or missing. Installing a transparent window helps people at this plant monitor the level of material remaining in the hopper. Transparency can also save time and improve safety in equipment inspections. For example, clear windows on the enclosure for an elevated conveyor help pinpoint trouble spots. Black paint on expanded metal grills is another transparency method that makes equipment inspection easier. Color coding is another effective visual technique. For example, color coding hoses to show what flows through them is critical for safety as well as efficiency. Color-coded signboards help people find their way around the workplace more easily. Be sure to standardize the use of color codes in the factory so everyone uses the same codes. Since some people are colorblind, always back up color codes with written labels. We've given examples of different types of visual techniques. Now, here are some guidelines for using labels and signboards effectively. Make labels and signboards easy to see from a distance. Put them on or near the operation or object they relate to. Make them so that anyone can understand them. Ensure that they make the workplace brighter and more orderly, not cluttered. The fourth step in Standardize is to assign responsibilities for maintaining and monitoring standard conditions. The bottom line is, 5S conditions are not likely to be maintained unless everyone knows exactly what they are responsible for doing and exactly when, where, and how. The area map for the target area is an effective place to display 5S responsibilities. In summary, to standardize means to define the optimum conditions for your workplace, attain those conditions, and use visual techniques to make the conditions obvious. It also includes maintaining and monitoring those conditions in a systematic way. When you standardize, you are forming the vision of a safe, efficient, quality-oriented, and user-friendly environment, and recreating your workplace so that it fulfills that vision. Decide the rules for your workplace. Decide how much control is needed to enforce those rules, and then implement the controls needed. In the fifth S, Sustain, we will look at ways to build a commitment to keep up the benefits of the first 4 S's.
Support your 5S application with these additional resources. From Teletrain, Total Productive Maintenance, a 4-part video series appropriate for all levels of your organization. For more information, call 1-800-251-6018. From Productivity, 5 Pillars of the Visual Workplace, a comprehensive sourcebook with dozens of examples of 5S implementation for the shop floor and office. 5S for Operators, an illustrated, easy-to-read introduction to the 5S system, developed specifically for shop floor employees. 5S for Operators Learning Package includes books, overheads, color slides, and facilitation guide for leading a learning group based on 5S for Operators. Training and consulting on 5S and the visual workplace from the Productivity Consulting Group. For more information, call 1-800-394-6868 or 1-800-966-5423.